I've been reading a lot of classics, self help books, and the dark psychology kinds of books. And one thing I realized is you have to balance your reading, not just focus on the one type of books that you've been reading. So I've been reading a lot about, the psychology, and I feel like this is where the balance should come out in your reading. So now I took a rest from those kinds of books because I feel like it's starting to consume me. I've been subconsciously, so obsessed with self development, the psychological tricks about, manipulating people. And at some point, it helps. It has a lot of helpful insights, but we're humans. It doesn't make sense to, revolve yourself and your interest into the kinds of topics that is going to consume you. So, I've been having a time for my romance books also, my manhwas, my novels. So I try to have a time to read those kinds of things because I feel like when I was reading a lot about classics, about psychology, all those kinds of self help books, I feel like it's numbing my heart because it's all about this practicality. Although I am very much so into objectivism, but the reading, my reading hobby, shouldn't always be centered into those kinds of books. So I try to find time for myself to read something light, something comforting, and something romantic. Because as a person and as a girl, I feel like I need that kind of leisure, not just the books that will harden your heart, but also something that will enlighten your soul. So, you know, I've been reading a lot of romantic books, manhwas nowadays, and it somehow balances out the kinds of books I've been reading, the classical ones, the very practical self-help books. And mind you, both types of those books will really help you. I feel like it really depends on how you use the knowledge you gain from reading those kinds of books. You just have to be mindful and careful of not letting the contents of what you're reading consume you. So if you're too much into romance, that could lead into delusion, which is not a good practice because you still have to face reality. So even if that's your hobby or coping mechanism to somehow escape reality, it doesn't make sense for you to be so deluded into that kind of world that you're going to apply that in your real life if it's not applicable. So, what you have to do is you are going to detach that kind of emotion, the feeling that you're feeling while reading something romantic, you're going to detach from that and to face your reality. So, it is pleasurable to have that kind of reading, but always remember that do not be so deluded into your fantasy that you are going to neglect the reality that you're living in. Because self help books, yes, it helps, especially in the real world, but as a reader, we have this urge to, get away from the reality. So you just have to balance it out because anything too much is not good. If you read too much into dark psychology, it's going to consume you. Most of the time it's going to consume you negatively. You're going to doubt people around you, and it's not always good to have such doubtful attitude over people because at some point you have to let go and to trust someone because we need other people. So if you are consumed by your delusion that someone is tricking you, someone is manipulating you, and you don't know how to let go of that kind of feeling, that's not a good sign. So your reading doesn't make you smarter more than the others if you adapt that kind of negative mindset. So that's just what I learned from reading a bunch of stuffs. You have to balance it out. You have to take a break from objectivist um, kinds of books because although it really helps you in the real world, you should always be mindful of what you're reading and also just absorb the kinds of contents that you want to incorporate into your life. So even if you're reading a self-help book, that doesn't mean it's not a step-by-step manual. You should know how to navigate your own life. So those kinds of books are just a guide. It's just, you know, your reference, something that will give you idea. But at the end of the day, you're the only one who's going to navigate your life. So please just absorb something that is going to help you. The those things that will improve the quality of your life. If it's negative, if it's not applicable into your real world, it doesn't have to be absorbed. You should let it go, and at least I'm sure there will always be one or two lessons you're going to pick up from a book that you're reading. Just be mindful so that it doesn't consume you in a negative way.